As 2026 approaches, both Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner find themselves entering the new season with a level of pressure, expectation, and opportunity that neither has experienced before. And behind the headlines, behind the trophies, behind the rivalry that has already become the heartbeat of modern tennis, there is a quieter war unfolding. A financial war where the ATP's structure collides directly with personal ambition. The numbers reveal a story that fans rarely see, but players cannot ignore. For Alcaraz, the last stretch of 2025 was a painful lesson in how fragile the balance between ambition and physical demand can be. Missing Canada and Shanghai not only interrupted his rhythm at a crucial time of the year but cost him half of a massive Masters 1000 bonus. It is the kind of penalty that even a world number one feels. Yet his decision to appear in Madrid, even without playing a single point, saved him from losing even more. That small detail, simply showing up, protected millions. This is the side of tennis the public doesn't see. Calendars shaped not only by strategy but by financial obligations, by ATP rules designed to reward presence as much as performance. For Sinner, the situation was even more extreme. Once he confirmed he would not compete in 4 Masters 1000 events, the ATP bonus system delivered its harshest punishment: complete erasure of the bonus. A full 100% reduction. Not a cent. To many fans it seemed cruel. To his team, it was simply the price of a long-term plan. For Sinner, 2025 was a season of highs, lows, withdrawals, recoveries, and a brutally demanding schedule. By the time the final stretch arrived, he made a choice: protect the body or protect the bonus. And he chose longevity. This is why the rivalry between Alcaraz and Sinner is so much deeper than match scores and trophies. Even in the financial rankings, they fight their own parallel battle. Alcaraz topped the ATP bonus pool with nearly $4 million. Sinner earned half of that. For fans, these numbers are impressive but distant. For the ATP, they are a signal. For their teams, they are a motivator. For the rivalry, they are gasoline. Beneath the calm exterior of two polite, respectful champions lies a relentless tension. Who plans better, who peaks smarter, who sacrifices more, and who takes the biggest risks? And the word that keeps circling around Alcaraz is ambition. His goals, his calendar, his training intensity, his desire to complete the career Grand Slam. Everything he does is powered by a hunger that borders on historic. He wants it all. He wants every surface, every trophy, every record that his idols left behind. Ferrero understands that ambition is a blade. Powerful, sharp, and dangerous if mishandled. The team pushes toward excellence while constantly pulling back the reins. On the other side of the rivalry, Sinner's approach could not be more different. He sees his career as a long road, not a single season. He's methodical, disciplined, and uncompromising when it comes to protecting his physical durability. That is why skipping the Davis Cup, a decision that shocked Italy, was not a moment of disrespect, but a calculated move to extend his prime. Fans wanted emotion. Sinner chose logic. And that decision, just like Alcaraz's choices, speaks volumes about the athlete he aims to be. Both are right. Both are wrong. And together, they create a rivalry that feels perfectly balanced. As the 2025 financial rankings close, the emotional rankings open a new chapter. Everyone inside the ATP knows the same truth. 2026 will be the decisive year. A season in which every final, every point, every tournament will feel like a referendum on who truly leads global tennis. The calendar is no longer a schedule. It is a battlefield. The first battle takes place in Melbourne. The Australian Open is the first checkpoint, the first true measure of how the balance of power will shift in 2026. And both Alcaraz and Sinner arrive at this tournament with completely different emotional landscapes. For Sinner, Melbourne is sacred territory. It is the fortress he conquered twice, the tournament that defined his rise, the stage where he built his identity as a giant killer and, eventually, as a Grand Slam champion. Winning it once changed his career. Winning it twice changed the sport. Defending it in 2026 would send a message so loud that even the legends of the past would hear it. For Alcaraz, however, Melbourne is something else entirely. It is the missing jewel, the unfinished chapter, the only corner of his destiny he has not yet conquered. Every time he steps into Rod Laver Arena, he carries the weight of history. The career Grand Slam is not just a statistic. It is a legacy stamp reserved for the greatest players ever to touch a racket. And Alcaraz knows that 2026 may be the best, and possibly the last, moment to become the youngest man in history to complete it. That pressure is unique. That opportunity is unique. And that storyline will define the early days of the new season. But while the Australian Open brings glory to one and torment to the other, the path to Melbourne reveals a psychological war that has intensified in recent months. The ATP Finals defeat still burns inside Alcaraz. Losing to Sinner on Italian soil, in a final balanced by millimeters, left a scar and an ambition that cannot be hidden anymore. His message during the trophy ceremony was not improvisation or politeness. "I hope you're ready next year, because I will be too," he said with a cold fire in his eyes that the cameras captured perfectly. It was the moment the rivalry stopped being polite tension and became something deeper. Sinner's reaction was fascinating. He didn't smile it away. He didn't downplay it. He accepted it. He absorbed it. And he responded with silence, the kind of silence that champions use as fuel. Behind closed doors, his team saw it as a challenge, a line drawn in the sand. If Alcaraz wanted a 2026 duel, Sinner would give him one. And yet, the contrast between them continues to define the narrative. While Alcaraz prepares with explosive intensity, Sinner prepares with precision. While Alcaraz talks openly about his goals, Sinner protects his plans with surgical secrecy. While Alcaraz needs emotion to ignite, Sinner needs calm to execute. They are polar opposites operating at the same elite altitude. This clash of identities is why every tournament, every press conference, every schedule choice is magnified. When Sinner skipped the Davis Cup, the entire tennis world questioned it. Fans, analysts, former champions, even Italian national press. But inside the ATP locker room, the perception was different. Many players admired the courage it takes to say no in a sport where stars are expected to say yes to everything. Longevity is earned, not granted, and Sinner is building longevity with the discipline of a monk. Alcaraz, meanwhile, is building legacy. His decisions, his training volume, his ambition to play big events, to push, to attack the calendar, they come from a different place. He wants history now, not later. Now. This is why 2026 is being called the season of truth. Because after 2 years of alternating dominance, they finally enter a year where both are healthy, both are experienced, both are hardened by battles, and both know exactly what is required to stay at the top. And beneath all of this, something else is happening. Something powerful. Something the tennis world has been waiting years to witness again. The rivalry is no longer Sinner versus Alcaraz. It is becoming Federer-Nadal 2.0 in intensity. Djokovic-Nadal 2.0 in quality. Federer-Djokovic 2.0 in longevity. Two perfect opposites orbiting the same goal. As the preseason advances, both Alcaraz and Sinner find themselves facing a different kind of pressure, one that does not come from rivals, fans, or even from the ATP. Comes from time. Tennis careers are no longer the short, explosive arcs they once were. Longevity is now a weapon, and each decision a top player makes, skipping a tournament, adding an exhibition, changing training intensity, shapes the next decade of their career. This is where their paths begin to diverge in the most fascinating way. Alcaraz lives in acceleration mode. His team often says that his natural state is forward, both in life and in tennis. His default instinct is to attack, to take control, to push, to chase milestones at full speed. That is why the discussion around his 2026 preseason became so intense. Ferrero wanted caution. Alcaraz wanted ambition. Ferrero wanted controlled build-up. Alcaraz wanted to start the year with a threat, "I'm coming for everything." In contrast, Sinner's preparation is almost mathematical. Every session, every rest day, every surface transition is planned with the precision of someone who knows the cost of a single misstep. His team has a clear philosophy: protect the body to protect the future. And the truth is, their method works. Sinner enters 2026 with fewer matches played, fewer miles accumulated, and fewer physical breakdowns than almost any player ranked inside the top 5 at the same age. This difference in philosophy is exactly what fuels their rivalry. Sinner strengthens consistency. Alcaraz strengthens intensity. Sinner builds sustainability. Alcaraz builds legacy-shaping moments. But both paths continue to intersect in the only place where everything is decided: Grand Slams. And that is where the 2026 season becomes a ticking clock for both men. For Alcaraz, the Australian Open is the first of 4 fronts. It is not just a tournament. It is the opportunity to rewrite tennis history. Completing the career Grand Slam before 23 years old would place him alongside Agassi, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, while also surpassing all of them in precocity. It would mark him as the fastest multi-surface champion ever developed in the sport. It would elevate him from star to phenomenon. For Sinner, the Australian Open is something much more personal. It is proof that the system he built, selective scheduling, meticulous planning, prioritizing recovery, is the right path. If he wins again, it becomes undeniable. It becomes a philosophy the rest of the tour may start copying. If he loses, everything changes. Every critic suddenly gains a microphone. Every skipped tournament becomes a talking point. Every decision becomes a potential regret. And then there is the invisible pressure, the one neither of them speaks about openly. What happens if one of them dominates 2026? What happens if one pulls ahead? What happens if the balance shifts? Because rivalries are delicate. They are balanced on results and narratives. One season can tilt everything. The ATP knows this. Broadcasters know this. Sponsors know this. The entire world of tennis is preparing for a season built around these two names. A season where every draw sheet, every betting line, every primetime match depends on whether Alcaraz and Sinner meet again. The ATP Finals have confirmed it. Their Grand Slam collisions have confirmed it. Their year-long financial battle has confirmed it. But 2026 brings something new. Something that could transform their rivalry into a historic, generational phenomenon. They both know how to win. But they have not yet learned how to dominate each other over time. Federer eventually dominated Roddick. Djokovic eventually dominated Federer. Nadal eventually dominated Federer on clay. In the case of Alcaraz and Sinner, dominance remains undefined. Every season resets. Every momentum shift is temporary. Every victory is answered by the other. This is rare. This is special. This is the exact formula that creates decade-long rivalries. And it is why 2026 feels like the moment everything will crystallize. Who rises, who adapts, who evolves, who bends under pressure. No scandals. No hatred. No controversy. Just pure, symmetrical excellence pushing both men to their limits. A rivalry built on mirrors. A rivalry built on contrast. A rivalry built on destiny. As 2026 draws closer, anticipation transforms into something deeper. Tension. Not the hostile tension of rivalries filled with anger or controversy, but the electric tension that exists only when two athletes know they are standing at the frontier of history. Alcaraz and Sinner may smile in interviews, may joke about seeing each other more than their families, may talk about respect and camaraderie. But beneath all of that remains the truth that both refuse to say out loud. Only one of them can own this era. The tennis world senses it. Fans sense it. And more importantly, they sense it themselves. For Alcaraz, every step he takes into 2026 feels like a countdown. He has already achieved what most players dream of across an entire career. He has multiple slams, Masters titles, a world #1 ranking, and a global status that transcends the numbers. But he also knows something else. Greatness in tennis is not measured by brilliance, it is measured by supremacy. And although he has shined brighter than anyone in 2025, supremacy still escapes him. Supremacy requires domination. Supremacy requires consistency. Supremacy requires an entire era bending around your name. That is what Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic accomplished. That is what the world expects from him. That is what Sinner threatens to deny. On the other side of the rivalry, Sinner enters the year with a different weight on his shoulders, quieter but just as heavy. While Alcaraz carries the burden of expectation, Sinner carries the burden of proof. He has beaten everyone. He has lifted the biggest trophies. He has rewritten the tactical and physical vocabulary of modern tennis. But there is something he has not yet secured: unshakable belief from the world that he can lead the sport alone. Every analyst still describes him as the co-leader of men's tennis. Every headline still attaches him to Alcaraz. Every narrative positions him as part of a duo rather than an empire. Sinner knows this. He does not show it, but he knows it. And that is why the 2026 season represents something different for him. It is no longer about winning titles. It is about separating himself. If he wins the Australian Open again, it becomes a statement. If he beats Alcaraz in a slam final, it becomes a shift. If he ends the season number 1, it becomes history. The careers of two men, so young and yet so advanced, now converge on the most important truth of their rivalry. This season will define the next 5 years. Even Rafael Nadal, in his recent reflections, hinted at this. The former king of clay sees in these two players the same dynamic that shaped his battles with Federer and Djokovic: respect without softness, rivalry without hatred, ambition without limits. He said something that resonated across the tennis world: great rivalries are the engines of eras. And this rivalry is exactly that. It is not just competition, it is propulsion. Both players are aware that the tennis world has already moved past the question of who is better. The question now is, who will last longer at the top? That is why every training session matters. Every calendar choice matters. Every missed event, every injury, every tactical change, every psychological shift, they all matter. Because in a rivalry this balanced, the smallest edge becomes an earthquake. As the Australian Open approaches, the line between caution and ambition becomes thinner for both men. Alcaraz wants to charge into the season with fire. Sinner wants to glide into it with precision. One plays with emotional momentum. The other plays with structural stability. One attacks destiny head-on. The other calculates destiny step by step. But destiny does not care about philosophies. Destiny is decided on court. And when the draw comes out, when the lights of Melbourne Park illuminate the first night session, when the heat of the summer grips the Rod Laver Arena, and when both men step into their first matches of the year, everything that happened in 2025, the bonuses, the injuries, the controversy, the scheduling decisions, the ATP Finals heartbreak, the victories, the losses, will vanish. Only two things will matter: who performs and who survives. Because 2026 is not just the next chapter of Alcaraz versus Sinner. It is the chapter where one of them begins to build an era, and the other must respond with the greatest tennis of his life. No shortcuts. No protection. No excuses. Just the truth of a rivalry that is about to explode.